And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. In 2000, WorkSafe BC banned smoking in workplaces, primarily to protect workers from harmful effects of secondhand smoke, which can cause or worsen respiratory illnesses, heart disease, and certain cancers. On today's Open Connection, we open our archives to bring you this story from 2000.
The battle lines between the rights of smokers to enjoy their habit and those of non-smokers who worry about the risks of secondhand smoke became a lot more sharply defined January the 1st. That's when the Workers' Compensation Board decreed that all workplaces under its jurisdiction in BC would become smoke-free. The WCB tried to emphasize this was not a ban on smoking. It was an effort to protect workers from the effects of what's called environmental tobacco smoke, or secondhand smoke.
Secondhand smoke causes lung cancer, it causes heart disease, it causes asthmatic attacks and other cardiovascular diseases, and we want workers to be protected from that.
And in fact, the regulations have been around for quite some time, but until this year, they have not applied to the hospitality industry.
Employers are required to control workers' exposure to secondhand smoke through a number of means. They can prohibit smoking on the job altogether. That's their choice. They can designate a safe area, which would be a safe outdoor location or a separately ventilated smoke break room, or they can do that through other equally effective means. And that's essentially all that really is in the regulation. There are reasonable options within the regulation to allow people to continue to smoke if that's what the employer wishes to have happen, and to still protect workers from exposure. Because that's the bottom line for us, is protecting workers from a known workplace hazard.
And most of us support the new rules, according to statistics released by the WCB. It says the vast majority of people who have phoned its so-called snitch line are complaining about continued smoking in bars and pubs. But some bar owners and managers disagree. They say they're already feeling the effects, and they add the regs are going to cost jobs.
I'm very worried, because I certainly don't like to lose my business by what the government is doing to us. It's hard enough to be in business, and especially the last 2.5 years has been very tough for us, and a big concern is my employees. They have major concerns, do layoffs, and they're worried to lose their jobs.
For example, today, 3 staff have gone home before the lunch rush is over, so it has quieted down quite substantially.
I think it's going to affect our entertainment. It's going to affect our kitchen isn't doing what it used to do. It's going to be down to basic minimal payroll in terms of employees. I'll be doing a lot more hours in there because affordability determines that, and maybe I'll be cutting my hours also.
In town, one of the hotels that I'm involved in, staff has gone from 65 to 51. There's a loss of 14 jobs. Other people's hours have been cut back from 8 hours to 5 or 6 a day. These are predominantly women, 80 to 85%, and there's nothing to assist these people, and they're usually in a class that doesn't have access to unions and other things to ensure that they have stable employment. Again, the government who claims they're looking after women's rights seems to be falling down again.
But I've noticed that a lot of the regular clientele just aren't coming in or not staying as long as they used to.
Business here at the chalet has been a little slow in the evenings, but January normally we are a little slow. We've had comments from people asking for ashtrays. We had one walkout.
It's been good. It's been about the same as it has normally at this time of year. Business does drop off a little bit, but people that smoke have still been coming in within the bar. They've been compliant. They go outside if they want to have one, and some of them just plain haven't been smoking, period, anywhere.
There are some Northwest establishments that decided to out-and-out defy the smoking regulations, prompting the WCB to react with increased enforcement.
We need to level out the playing field and ensure that those that are complying aren't losing business, and that those that are not complying are also going to be put into a position of compliance very quickly.
fact
Hines spelled out the policy in vivid detail at a Smithers Chamber of Commerce luncheon recently, drawing comments from those in the audience that the WCB was acting like a kind of no-smoking Gestapo. But Hines didn't see it that way at all. He said the WCB was prepared to go easy at first with a series of warning letters, and it hasn't really changed that policy.
The purpose of the 3 letters was to allow companies, I guess, the opportunity to comply, recognizing that some of the patrons may not want to butt out the first day. So if we had a patron come in that was insistent, there may be a situation where they would have someone smoking. But that's a different situation than companies demonstrating deliberate and willful non-compliance. And most of these companies also have been very vocal in establishing that they are not going to comply, and they have no intention of complying.
Will the new regulations really mean financial ruin for Northwest bars? Time will tell, but some restaurants in the Northwest were already no-smoking establishments even before January the 1st. So we asked them about their experiences.
Well, initially, of course, all the smokers went somewhere else. The ones that did stay, they didn't stay as long. They weren't sitting for an hour or anything else. They would have a cup of coffee and then they would leave. And our clientele, yeah, it changed a little bit. We started seeing more women coming in with the young children.
The response was excellent. We didn't really have any negative response toward it. I think in a really small place, it makes more sense just to have it one way or the other rather than try to divide it up.
Well, initially, we had a little bit of a problem with customers that came here all the time and used to smoke, and but that kind of regulated itself. In the summer, they were more than happy then to go outside. We have some benches outside then in the summer, and now they're doing the same still. So, and no, it doesn't make no difference now.
Many non-smokers say they look forward to being able to enjoy their favorite beverage or savor a meal without cigarette smoke wafting through the air. But those making their living in the hospitality industry are hoping those folks put their money where their mouths are, and soon.
The statement is 29% of the population smokes, so we're looking at 71% of the population to come back into our businesses. Now that we are complying with the non-smoking environmental tobacco smoke issue, we're welcoming everyone back in the door.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Prince Rupert's economic growth was originally linked to his position as the western endpoint of the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway during the early 20th century. The city encountered economic difficulties in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, which included the shutdown of a pulp mill and declines in the fishing industry. Let us return to the archive as Don Scott shares his three-pronged approach to economic development.
The idea for the three summits first evolved out of Mayor Don Scott's election campaign last fall.
What I found was that people were concerned about the economy. They want jobs for themselves and for their kids, and so I thought this was a way to find out from the business community where we are and where we might be going, and I think it is accomplishing that.
There are so many opportunities here in Prince Rupert. Particularly for people like myself who have just come into the community new, to look at all the opportunities that are here is really quite overwhelming. Of course, for anyone who's been living here in Prince Rupert, it's always nice to have an opportunity to look at all of the opportunities in their specific sectors and categories, and that's really what we've done here with this week's summit.
Day one of the summit started with a presentation from consultant John DeWolf, who has done a lot of work for the city in the past. DeWolf spoke on Prince Rupert's potential and how its future prosperity lies in diversification.
Whether it is a very large aqua-food, aquaculture industry, both of those are possible, or it is tourism based on cruise ships, cruise ferries, the airport, and so on, or whether it's tying in with Alaska, all these things are necessary.
The rest of the day was spent discussing how to revitalize Prince Rupert's fishing and seafood sectors. A number of different topics were presented, such as value-added processing, new product lines, and community licensing to ensure the survival of the North Coast commercial fleet. Fishermen's Union Northern Rep Joy Thorkelson says the summit was a very good idea.
Well, I think that every time you have a forum like this, people become a lot more understanding about what's going on in the fishery. A lot of people, even Prince Rupert, think that we don't have any fish left, which isn't true. I mean, this year we'll have 1.1 million sockeye available in the Skeena for catch. Next year it'll probably be in the 3 and 4 million level again.
Day 2 of the summit dealt with transportation and industry. The morning sessions presented the possibilities for future growth at the Port Authority. Bill Waymark, president of the BC Rail Marine Group, says they feel Fairview Terminals, operated by subsidiary Canadian Stevedoring, could see short-term growth in pulp exports.
We believe over the next 5-year horizon, you're going to see in the Lower Mainland a shift away from break bulk into containers, and you're going to be seeing, I think, some terminals in the Lower Mainland that are presently handling those products start to shift into containers.
Ridley Island is the preferred site of 2 potential industrial projects, the first being a pig iron and steel slab plant. Pacific Iron and Steel President Steve Dickerson says they hope to start construction at the end of September after the partnership agreements and bankable study have been completed.
If we get a positive response during our study, we will initiate engineering early. We will try to fast track this project and actually do it much quicker. If we can, we would try to, once we start construction, complete it within 15 to 16 months.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. The cost of starting a mine varies widely based on factors like scale, method, and resource type, but it can range from a few million to hundreds of millions of dollars. Small to medium-scale surface mines might cost $500,000 to $10 million, while large-scale underground mines could exceed $200 million. Let us return the archives with Jerry Lees.
The second of the 2 projects is Cassier Mines and Metals Magnesium Refinery. Senior Vice President Jerry Lees says Cassier is in the preliminary stages of site selection.
Of course, we have to have a bankable feasibility study. We're talking about a very large investment of $900 million here or thereabouts. We hope to complete that this year with our partner Aluminum of Korea, the Hyundai subsidiary. The second, and within that, the obstacles are that we need a competitive power contract.
As for established business, things are looking up for Prince Rupert Grain and Skeena Cellulose. Although neither company is out of the woods yet, both are reporting a rise in production levels this year.
Since we've been back in full operation since October, 6 times we've broken our single shift unloading record, and we've most recently, January 9th, established a new car unloading record of 148 cars in an 8-hour period. And that's up substantially from the last few years where 80, 90, 100 cars were the norm. It's a substantial gain and a wonderful result. We've also established new shipping records, 200,000 tons of grain shipped in a 1-week period the last week in November, and the entire month of November for a 4-week period was over 600,000 tons of grain shipped out of the facility.
Through the period of time that we've had the beeline operating, we've run right today, since that startup, we're averaging about 1,300 tons a day, which is 50 tons above our budget.
To make sure all of the information presented at the summit is put to good use, session planning groups were appointed from a cross-section of the community. It was the group's task to summarize each session and make recommendations to the city on further actions. The general feeling amongst the groups was that the summit was a success.
Definitely needed in Prince Rupert. Absolutely applaud the City Council and Mayor Scott for putting this on so fast and having the quality of people that they've had here to present, and the bringing together of such a wonderful cross-section of people like to work in these sessions to bring forward these recommendations. These recommendations were really hard thought, worked out, and they're coming from the heart of most of the people that were there working on them. Because we love Prince Rupert, this is our home, we want to be here, we want to see things happen.
I think it worked, absolutely, because I think that there was a lot of good quality
quality presenters that came and gave information, educated us before we broke off into our groups. And I was fortunate, the group I was in, we had the presenters come with us back into the breakaway session. And we even gleaned more knowledge, more interest, or interesting items on the issue that we were speaking on, which was the lifting of the oil and gas moratorium.
And I think people can tell that things are turning around, that there's a lot of opportunity, and I think that people can look at taking advantage of those opportunities, and that relates to small business. So that's how I think small business will participate in this, is that they'll be able to identify opportunities, they'll be able to plan and be prepared for what comes out of this.
Anyone who's in small business as an owner, who's a manager, or who works in a small business, if they're here or if they're listening on television to the presentations, to the opportunities that are coming up, they've made the first step in identifying opportunities specific to their small business. And that's really what we would like to see.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Wet-on-wet painting, also known as alla prima or direct painting, involves applying wet paint onto a wet surface, allowing colors to blend and mingle on the canvas. It was later popularized by artists like Frans Hals and Rembrandt, and later by Impressionists who embraced its spontaneity and ability to capture fleeting moments and light. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to the archives with Brenda Mallory.
Tucked away behind the trees and down the driveway is a charming old house where Brenda Mallory lives, along with her husband Al, a few dogs, and a bunch of birds. Most of her feathered friends are just visitors to the many feeders scattered around the yard, but there's also quite a few in the bird sanctuary.
One of the dogs brought them home in their mouth. I thought it was dead, and I was getting ready to bury it, and the damn thing obviously wasn't.
Dozens of birds have called this place home over the last 14 years, including this exotic Mongolian pheasant.
He's quite old.
How did he end up here?
Somebody didn't want them anymore, and we got it.
There's also a couple of silver pheasants at the sanctuary, but it's not just a place for unusual birds. Any injured or abandoned bird, like a crow or a grosbeak, can stay here. And while there's no live birds in the house, they still play a very important role in Mallory's life. You see, she's more renowned for her painting, and not surprisingly, birds are often a featured player in her watercolors.
They're alive, and you feed them and they keep coming back. You don't have to go for a long walk to see them. They're in your yard all the time, and they sing to you in the morning.
On this day, she's going to paint some evening grosbeaks.
In your case, what does it mean, legally blind?
I can't see.
Okay.
Actually, she can see, but very little. Nothing out of her left eye and what's called 2300 out of her right eye.
So it means, like, if I take my glasses off, you're gone. If I didn't know that was you, like, I can't see you now.
So how does she paint with almost no vision? Well, she starts by spreading water across the canvas in a style called wet into wet, then just lets it flow from there.
So at this stage, I don't need a magnifying glass because it's just like the world is. And then I start, you see. This is the part that drives people wild because they never know what the heck I'm doing.
She paints what's going to be in the background, then lifts it up and lets the paint roll.
And my dad taught me to see differently than other people so that I could see the world, and this is what he did. He used to have me go out in the bush with him and look at things and then come back and paint it, like take a picture, so that if I ever lost the sight in my other eye, I would still be able to see, no matter what happened, because I had pictures.
She also got a lot of inspiration from her mother, who was an artist as well. Brenda sold her first painting when she was just 7. Since then, she sold nearly 1,000, mostly scenes from the many places she's lived and taught school in BC. Since retiring from the teaching profession, she's taken up many new things, including stand-up comedy. She's performed in Northwest towns and all the way to Edmonton.
I notice the same thing when I do entertaining and whatnot. I talk to these nice people out here, and those guys, I forget about them.
That blind left eye also makes for a rather unorthodox style when it's time to do the more intricate work.
Because I can only see out the side. So I'd be doing my little things like this. And then I wipe it on my pants, what I shouldn't be doing. Like that. The detail would be done like that.
Unlike most watercolorists, Mallory doesn't yet know at this stage of the painting where she's going to put the birds.
If some people do, and they block it off so that the paint doesn't go on there, and then they know exactly where the bird should go. But I like to see how the paint is moved so it works out naturally. I'll probably do 2 or 3 birds in this one, a couple males and a female, because they're kind of pretty.
Aside from birds, Brenda's other interests are playing guitar and fiddle and teaching painting and writing locally.
Getting lots of published authors and things already.
Good.
Quite amazed, actually. Just regular folk taking up writing. You never know until you pick up a pen or paper. You just can't gouge away on people's tables.
She's also written humor columns for several newspapers and has published a book of her best stuff that sold nearly 1,500 copies. But even though it's a long and awkward process, painting is what she loves to do most. And who can blame her when the finished work is so beautiful? The 3 grosbeaks sit for sale amongst a bunch of her other paintings at the Crocodile Cafe in Telkwa.
It's kind of fun because you sit in there and you listen to the people comment about your paintings and they don't know you're it. So if they say, well, it's nice, I say, well, I did it. And then if they say it's not very nice, I say, oh, lousy artists make me sick. Some people can't paint and ask money for it.
Mallory's going to be very busy the next few months, producing at least 30 more paintings for a big show at the Smithers Art Gallery. She'll also display some of the best works from her students. That show starts October 24th.
The Morristown Canyon Committee has been the subject of much heated debate in the past, mostly to do with the harvesting methods used by the Wet'suwet'en who fish here. About a month ago, the Lands and Resources of the Wet'suwet'en set up a canyon committee to better manage the resource, and the response has been good.
People in the Skeena Watershed Committee realize that our people are serious about the resource here. We really want to do something about it. We really want to take care of it. And in general, it's been a good response from not only people from the outside like DFO or Skeena Watershed Committee, but from the people of the community as well.
The Canyon Committee is formed this year to help the people in Morristown here get a better association between the younger people that are fishing and the elders, an education of the fishing sites. And throughout the canyon, each one of these little areas where everybody fishes is an individual fishing site that is owned by a chief.
So far, the committee has banned jigging and plans to enforce a buddy system for gaffing.
We're taking steps to make it more effective and try to cut down on loss rates. One of the things we're looking at is a buddy system, and we're looking at modifying the gaff hooks. For example, in the past, our elders would use different size hooks for the different species. There was gaff hooks used for spring, certain size hooks used for sockeye, and certain size hooks used for other species of salmon. So we're trying to reinstitute that so that we can cut down on the loss rates.
The Wet'suwet'en say the committee will ensure the resources remain in this canyon for generations to come. Glynis Waters, First News, Morristown.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.